Tonight on Hunter's Podcast, it's the 60 Minutes episode of Hunter's Podcast because we got some real conversations. Not that ha ha hoo hoo, he's drinking water in the corner kind of conversations. We're talking, does Halloween Horror Nights have a show problem? Also, theme park haunts recently are getting hit up with a lot of fights and a lot of cops. So we're going to have a convo about that as well. Upcoming events. We have everything happening this weekend on, so stay tuned. Stay with us.
You should
as
have
I
been prepared.
find the intro.
Maybe while you were waiting
to the show.
For the dog to drink.
The 60 Minutes. Welcome into Hunter's Podcast. I am the one, the only got a couple of these left, Zach Hilton. And alongside with me is the wonderful, talented, the beautiful, the most amazing woman in the world, Brooke.
That's me.
That's her. And if you want the actual intro to this show, go to our Patreon. It's up there right now. A good 4 minutes of whatever happens.
What happened was.
But let me tell you what will happen is. We have a lot going on this next couple of weeks, okay, pals?
We're busy.
We have on October 3rd, I believe, October 3rd, we will be with Frightmare at Woody's Raw Bar and Grill in Great Bridge, 123 Battlefield Boulevard, Chesapeake, Virginia. We are hosting horror movie trivia. And let me tell you, I got an insight. He's coming. He's going to help me out with these questions. If you thought we had hard ones before, oh boy, these are going to be some layups. I'm kidding. It should be a fun time. You should come on out. There's great prizes, great food, great drink, great times all had, and I do believe the Frightmare crew will be there dressed up to give you the spookies, as they like to do. So once again, October 3rd at Woody's Raw Bar and Grill, 123 Battlefield Boulevard, Chesapeake, Virginia. Make sure you come on out because, hey, I think that's the only trivia we're going to do this season because we got more on the plate. We got more on the plate. We got October 4th. We're going to be at Red Vein Haunt. Red Vein Haunt. We are going to Best Buy. Why are you talking to me? Everybody's effing on me in this episode. We're going to be at Red Vein Haunt for Void. I am going to be a what she said, a scare actor, which I'm very excited about. I mean, like, in all the years we've done this show, where we have talked to many haunts, home haunts, haunt actors, I'm finally going to don on the costume and try to go, ooh, to people to make them go, ah. And we'll see if it happens.
I think it's definitely going to happen.
I think so. I think once I'm in character, it's on.
I think that I don't think we've ever underestimated the amount of work that scare actors do. It's very strenuous, and there are risks that you do put into it because people react differently to different things, and some are fight instead of flight.
Don't fight.
So don't do that. I would not recommend that. But I'm very interested to see how it all, to hear your take and to hear your experience with all of it and to get that take and side of what we love.
I 100% agree, and I can't wait to give these takes and emotions, which you can check out on Spooktacular, the Curse of Hunters podcast, where we have the footage of me preparing for the haunt, during the haunt, my after haunt thoughts, all kinds of things. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, Spooktacular, October 18th. Make sure you check that out. That's going to be a good time. And we have another packed weekend coming in this weekend. We got Frightmare on Friday. We're actually going to go through the haunt.
You are.
Check it out this season. Absolutely.
You are.
We have Hollow Scream Saturday. Core Memory Unlocks. Justin and Leanne are going to come with us. So this is going to be...
Oh my God.
Something like before. We took her to Frightmare once.
That was a hoot and a holler.
Things happened to her body that she evacuated. Rumor has it. I don't know.
Rumor has it.
Dum, dum.
Rumor has it.
Dum, dum. And then we're going to stay the night because then Sunday...
I'm not ready.
We're doing the Fiends... No, you're really not ready. We're doing the Fiends 5K at Busch Gardens. It's their inaugural. It's the first one they've ever done. I'm excited about this because we saw that there was a Hollow Scream run in Orlando.
In
SeaWorld, and it looked really neat. They were doing theirs at night, which I completely understand. I thought the vibe was there.
Mm-hmm.
We got more information on the run for this year's, which you could still sign up for right now. If you go to buschgardens.com or whatever, go to Williamsburg. They're promoting it on their Hollow Scream site. But they have set up for when we get there, we do the run.
Mm-hmm.
After the run in Oktoberfest, they're opening up Dark Castle Bar.
Yeah.
What is that one? Dark Castle Spirits?
Yeah.
Dark Castle Spirits, so you can get some drinks.
Adult drinks.
Adult drinks at 7:30. Who doesn't want that after a run? But then, exclusively, they're going to open up Dark Coaster for us to ride.
Yeah, sounds like a blast.
It does, and they're going to have scare actors. I think the scare actor portion is going to be at the very end, more so than in the park like some of the Orlando one is.
Right.
But I'm very excited.
But I also understand, I think that's why Orlando did it at night, because those scare actors had already, like, they were already done. They're there. It's just easier to have a later night. Yeah.
Now you got to come in early.
Yeah.
We're getting like 4 people from Colony Diner. They're going to dress up the bartenders and be like, "You're from that Monster House. Shut up and do it." So we're really excited about that. Pay attention to our socials at Haunter's Pod Instagram and check it out.
We had a whole plan. We have been working towards it.
Yeah.
And since HHN, I fell off the wagon.
Well, and by fell off, you got pushed because work, life, everything in its mama.
Well, my knee also had some issues. And then it's been raining nonstop. So because the whole thing is outside, while doing an inside thing, it's just not the same.
Right. No, 100% agree. And we're going to do our best. That's all we can ask for. And the best we can do is improve. So give us a thing, then we'll improve. I'm excited. So make sure you pay attention to that.
Not that you would, because you never do, but you can't leave me.
No, I'm not going to leave you.
I know, but you can't leave me.
I'm not going
to
leave you.
Me.
Goodness gracious. All right. So let's get into our first subject matter, which is... Does Halloween Horror Nights have a show problem? And I personally have been debating this with myself ever since coming back from this year's trip. So, all right. We've been going to Halloween Horror Nights for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And me just slightly more, so I've seen the show previous. Well, the reason why I bring that up is because, when you came, you got a good 3 years with Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. And you're talking about a show that was around...
a few more than that, actually.
What? 13, 14, 15... So 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah.
You got 5 years yourself with the show. And the show was around previously before that since the beginning.
Right.
So you're talking legacy show when this was around. And when that got closed up, and there was a lot of there was sadness. I do think there were people out there that were like, finally, something new. And then there was another dance crew that was at HHN during the time of Bill and Ted, but they were on that second stage.
Yes.
And we're not mentioning them by name because they went through some
choices
things, so we're not going to bring that up, but they got shifted to the main stage. They did a couple of years on the main stage, and then once they were no longer invited back Nightmare Fuel has been there. Was this the 4th year Nightmare Fuel's been there?
Maybe, yeah.
So for 4 years, it's been there. And ever since we've seen Nightmare Fuel, like, this is why this is the conversation. Does HHN have a show problem?
Okay.
When I think of Bill and Ted, the skeleton of the show is there. It's like Bill and Ted are in a situation, pop culture references of that year, dancing men and women wearing barely any clothes, good comedy bits, music, a la show.
Right.
Nightmare Fuel is technically the same kind of thing.
Right.
With like skeleton of a show. Maybe they add a bit here or there, but you know what you get. To the point of like when Bill and Ted was around, the pre-show song was "We Will Rock You."
Yeah.
And everybody hyped up. The pre-show song for this show, for Nightmare Fuel, is that My Chemical Romance Black Parade song, but EDM. So, like, there's a lot of, like, references.
Right.
Not references, but they both have skeletons of what they do every year.
Yes.
But why is it, and I don't like that, I don't like this answer, because I don't think this is the answer. Why do you think we don't click with the show as much? But I will also say, and the internet's a different internet nowadays, I don't feel like we're alone in the Nightmare Fuel isn't for me category. I feel like there's a lot of people that scream it. And I think there's a facade of they bring in this large crowd.
Right. Which they do. They're always packed.
But this is what I was going to say. Well, I guess we could break it down in like this was the overview, so let's take it step by step, I guess.
Okay.
Where do you feel the show is now as an HHN fan? Like,
so kind of to talk about like your skeleton aspect of it, right? So for me, it's still the same show. While Bill and Ted was that same skeleton of like, okay, gotta go somewhere. The main premise of that show was the pop culture events through
the past year.
Yeah. I mean, even going into it, you're like, are they going to bring up this? Or how are they going to bring up this?
Right.
Type thing.
Right.
So the center of the show, which I think is, and it also changed sometimes throughout the show based off of what was going on as well, like throughout the season.
That's very true.
That main laugh that you were getting from it, right? That main entertainment was different from year to year. Yeah. That's just being like, saying, oh, well, you know what a comedy show is, right? But it's going to be different jokes. So it's not the same comedy show. But the essence of it is still somewhat the same. Right. With Nightmare Fuel, I get the aspect. I think because they've consistently done the same thing, while the choreographer might have different ways of setting things up, like the choreography, I guess I should say, is different. Some of the stunts are a little bit different. There also are a lot of the stunts that are the same. Yeah. So it's kind of hard, and I think even more so this year after being told, like, it's different, it's circus, it's different, and being told it's different, and it's still the same concept, you just didn't put a bet out there. Right. I mean, you said it best, if you want to go ahead and say, if it
walks like a duck and quacks like a duck,
it's a duck?
Yeah.
Type thing. Yeah. It kind of summed it up for me. Yeah. Listen, if you love that show, by all means, go. Right. For me, I don't think that it's necessarily, when I think of have a show problem, I do think that HHN has a show problem because this is the only thing that they are relying on. Yeah. Which does put, while it packs that entire stadium or whatever, the seats, that still does put a lot of pressure on the rest of HHN. And I don't think that it only pulls but so much in a sense, even though it's packed out. And again, if you love it, by all means, yes, go for it. Yes, queen type thing. Right. I think, and it's not to discredit the the performers at all. Like, I feel like they bring it. Their energy is there. For me, it just doesn't do it because I just feel like at the end of the day, I'm seeing beyond just the skeleton. Like, I'm seeing some bones, some muscle, a little bit of skin. Well, a lot of skin, actually. But
Oh, that's good.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's where I feel
Well, it's really funny.
when you're thinking about, like, the skeleton aspect of it.
We did our review episode last
Uh-huh.
week and completely didn't even talk. Like, we mentioned it and then went on. And I think that says the most about it because I agree with you. They're highly talented. They
Yes.
do things that are not the same equivalent
And not that
of
everybody-
freak show, but like,
And not everybody
that's-
can do it.
Right, like you're playing with fire. The one fire lady was just knocking it out of the park. My favorite thing of the show. It is a watchable show. It is definitely something you could do. And if you've never done HHN,
highly
say
recommend.
that you go because you've never experienced. But
Mm-hmm.
in a world where we have gotten this HHN culture, the cult community, we're here to see our friends in a sort, and people have gotten in trouble that they think some of these people are their friends. But like, I kind of look at it like, what if Bill and Ted show was in this era? Would they have the same kind of social media response of like, I gotta go to the show because Jason Perry's there and Jason Perry liked my comment the other day, so I gotta be there and I gotta do the show? And I wonder if that's half of the reason why the crowd is so crowded, because like, it's that thing. It's like, if you're putting butts in seats, why change it?
Right.
And I don't think that's the attitude. I looked at the crowd during the pre-show and during that song bit. There's phones in there. Like when
Yeah, I was one of them.
you were one of them. On picture, it makes it look like a lot of people did it. In reality, I would say 30% of that crowd were doing it. And that's the crowd that continuously comes. The other crowd are people that are visiting like us, doing it for that weekend, doing whatever. And they're going to see that show and they're going to go, whatever.
So here's what while you were talking, I also thought of the fact of like, it takes me back to, I mean, it makes me sad because they were doing water shows, which I thought were also a good people puller.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Jack's show was mind-boggling and amazing, and that's something that I wish that they would, I just feel like they have so many opportunities, and to kind of stick with the like, okay, well,
do you think the one show atmosphere was because, and I don't like using this word, I fucking hate it. Do you think it's because of the budget cut? It's like, stick with what we know. And next year we can either build and do something else.
Next year's going to be what, 34?
Yeah.
Which so throws me off.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do Nightmare Fuel again next year.
Okay.
I don't think they change it till 35. And then that's when they go that route.
Do they add anything next year? Because I think their biggest show problem is that they're not reaching everybody. Because here's the thing, like I said earlier about, it's a packed crowd. And I know it's two different types of theater. But you know what wowed me, like this last trip? How packed Monster Horror Makeup Show was.
Yes.
It was to the brim.
You know what I will also say? I feel like they really missed the mark this year with Beetlejuice coming out. How they didn't bring back Beetlejuice's grave. Is that what it's called? The Beetlejuice
the
Graveyard?
Graveyard Review.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that has to do with they have a contract for Beetlejuice to be there. That contract can't be like messed with, like
Just however you want. It can't be like that.
Well, like you have.
I got you.
You got that, but you can't do a Beetlejuice show without new contract.
Okay.
Like you.
No, that makes sense.
You want Beetlejuice? My movie just made $400 million.
Yeah,
what are you
fair.
giving me?
What you got for me?
What you got for me then?
Yeah.
And maybe, hopefully next year there is that. Maybe one of the like fears was, is this movie going to make money?
That's fair.
Well, who knew at that point? I mean,
They
so glad
didn't.
they did.
Yeah.
So glad they did. But I think the biggest show problem, from going where I was saying with the seats, obviously, comedy is still a big hit. Like, comedy horror works. I
There's
think
no
their
comedy
biggest,
in that, though.
but here's what I'm saying.
Oh.
I feel the biggest show problem is that there isn't more like shows. You have to give me a water show again, but do it properly, like the first year. IP, some original, make it feel like it's included in this event. Also, the second stage. I know we have a lot going on, but we have to figure out how we can incorporate a second show again, like your Jack show that you dug.
Yeah.
I dug. Comedy, horror, it all works. When I think of my favorite show this year, and obviously I'm going to be biased about it because I love it, Fiends at Hollow Scream in Williamsburg is such a nostalgia, warm hug, because for me, that's theme park entertainment. Comedy, dancing, music.
Yeah.
With some horror because it's Halloween. And the fact that it kind of feels like Universal is straying from that when they have horror makeup show, the Harry Potter Death Eaters, Harry Potter singing ladies and the frog stuff. And like, I feel like they're so good at entertainment. Why are they straying away from this kind of entertainment?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Do you think that it, well, I guess not. I mean, it could have been, though, that they signed a multi-year contract. I mean, that's possible.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, they could have signed a 3-year deal with a 2-year extension if Universal wants.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if that's the deal, that's the deal.
Yeah.
What's wild to me is because of this, with the things that happened with the dance group previous, I am shocked of how outsourcing they would have done that.
Yeah.
Instead of doing their own homegrown thing. And again,
for sure, because of the amount of talent that they have there.
Right. And what's wild is like,
I mean, let's be real. The team members that were sitting everybody and then the hyping them up, they were nailing it.
They get you ready for this show that you're about to see. And I do think that amps you up to a point of yay. And then, and I don't want to critique the show because I don't think that's fair. It's just, it's not a bad show.
No, it's not a bad
show. It's just
show.
not a show I want to watch. Especially again and again and again and again and again. And it's funny how the storyline of this was, I have a dream, which we were making fun of. It's the same dream over and over. And I'm like, am I in a meta experience? Because I feel like I am. Because that's all this fucking is.
It's happening now, it's happening then, and what's happening then is happening now.
We've done this bit way too many times.
You get it? You get it, HHN? We've done this bit too many times.
So, what you're saying, to kind of wrap this up with a bow, you don't think we get a new show until 35?
Correct.
I
think there's a possibility to get an additional show next year, like a water show or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they are like working so hard right now with everything with the water show, which is still so bizarre to me, where they finally got all of that working and what you did it for like not even 2 months, and then now it's HHN, and obviously that's what you're focusing on. But
right. Well, I think to be honest, I think the water show was at 85% done. And they were like, show it, because we've promised the summer of celebration.
Yeah.
Because think about it, that building wasn't finished when we went to go see it. Now it's getting so close. By the time HHN's done, this thing's going to be ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think it's the full show. I think drones, every ounce of water. Because that's the thing, is like, oh, the water stuff was ready and some of the drone stuff was.
Yeah.
Because I've heard, like, sometimes the drones came out, sometimes they didn't.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess that would make sense also depending on weather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can't be windy with some drones.
True. I don't know. Like, it sucks. And yes, I 100% understand. I'm a Bill and Ted stan, and I'm not asking for Bill and Ted to come back. What I'm asking for is a show with comedy and horror and dancing and music. And I think all those elements make a perfect Halloween show. And I don't know why we're going away from it. As much as how cool it is to watch Fire for the 100th fucking time, a comedy joke that you deliver each season new, I would much rather.
Yeah. No, I get that. And like, I'm just going to reiterate what you had said. No harm, no foul on the show. No harm, no foul on the actors. They are amazing. It's honestly not even their fault. They have no control over what the premise of the show is. They're, performing their hearts out, and you can feel their energy. Like, they are bringing it. And I think that's the only reason I probably didn't fall asleep. And I still somewhat enjoyed my time.
Yeah.
To me, I would just... So, like, okay, perfect example. When Bill and Ted was there, sometimes we were trying to see it more than once in the night.
Yeah, because we knew it was
or more
like
than once during our trip.
Right.
I would not want. I would feel like
I'm missing out on other things.
Houses or food.
So that's, and I think ultimately that's where my thing is, and this is just from
and seeing it once
our
was good
opinions.
and moving on.
But like, shouldn't everything be must see?
Right.
Or must do?
And again, if you're new and have not seen it and you don't have that, previous memory of seeing it the year before, yes, by all means go. Right. Also, if it is your thing, more power to you. I'm not telling you to not like it at all. I liked it. It's just not, to me, if you have seen it at all in the past few years, it's just... If you're only there for a limited amount of time, and I think that's also the thing, that a lot of people might be people that can go regularly. And so, you do have time. And you have a connection to them. Yeah. Again, like I said, and I'm not going to... Because I'll even say, I forget who it is. I know that they call it like she's the queen of it or whatnot. She actually... If I'm not mistaken, and come at me, I guess, if I'm wrong. But I think that, like, during the off season or whatnot, she even had a job at Epcot performing. No shit. Wow. Crazy. And again, I think we just live in a social media world where everybody, especially a Floridian, they go to the show all the time to support, but also like, oh, I know who this is now. Because like there's a digital creator, Tyler, that I follow, and like he's at that show all the time and he tags them. So if you go on Insta, you can see Nightmare Fuel Girls. You can see that they're going to practice. You can see that they have their own ads, and then you follow them, and then you can like their stuff and comment on their stuff. And I get that you make your own little life where you're friends with them. Why are you tapping my leg? Anyways, I hope you enjoy the show as much as you go to it. I hope Halloween Horror Nights does add to show elements for 34 and specifically 35. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Especially if you put something like in front of the horror makeup show. Remember when Jack was on the stage? Instead of just doing a little stage, do a big show there. Do a medium-sized show. Okay. That's what I think, at least. Okay. Let's move on to our final topic of the evening. So, wild shit's going around, especially here in Virginia. A couple of weeks ago, on a night we went to Hollow Scream. Yeah. About an hour after. Talked about it. Yeah, an hour after. There was a fight in the parking lot. Cops were brought in, juveniles, weapons, fake weapons, no weapons, all these things happened, and it was wild because it's like, God damn, it's the opening weekend. What are we doing? This past weekend, or 2 weekends ago. 2 weekends ago, there was a stabbing. A stabbing at Busch Gardens. Like in the park. In the park. So how'd they get this knife in? Juveniles. Juvenile. To the point where Busch Gardens now has a chaperone
policy. They opened it up, baby.
If you are 16 or under, you have to be with a chaperone.
Which is wild. Well, never mind.
And then if you're a little old, if you're 17, you have to show an ID.
Right.
Because 18 is considered an adult.
Yeah.
Type thing. So, they put this policy into place, as well as the county put in a policy of that teens cannot be out.
Right. Past a certain time.
Right. So
which I think is 11.
It was ensuring that parents pick their kids up and be on time if they were dropping them off at Busch Gardens.
And one parent couldn't have more than like 10 kids to chaperone.
Yep. And you had to be with them at all times within the park if you were their chaperone.
Then King's Dominion Haunt said, "Hold my beer," and apparently had a 300-person fight break out.
How does that even happen?
So weather happened and none of the rides were going, and the Haunt, I guess, and so like kids were hiding under an arcade or something, and that's where it broke out, and cops were brought in. And it seemed like they showed up after the fact, like everybody's dispersing and stuff like that. Nobody was taken in. The initial group that started it, I do believe, got permanently kicked out of the park, stuff like that. So this conversation that I want to bring, and I want to know if you think this.
Well, and I will also say there has not been a specific incident, but if you do look at a lot of the group pages for HHN, there is a lot of teen complaint.
Oh, is there? I have not seen that. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, even when we were there, it was wild. I was like, there are more teenagers here than I have ever seen. And that's even including when Stranger Things was there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the times when we would go in 2015 or whatever, where like, we would see a teen with a family and be like, holy crap, that kid's got balls. And even us bringing Teen Hilton, like, that was only recently, and it still felt like kind of taboo. I was about to say, when we
initially brought him, it was kind of like almost justifying in a sense of like why he was like, no, he wants to be here. We have done other things. It's not like we're just, bring him out here. But I mean, we saw, but again, I think whatever, you're the parent to whatever child, but that's the thing that I was going to say. And I don't know what you were going to bring up, but as a parent, you can make those decisions, but you are responsible for your kid. And if your kid cannot behave and act accordingly, then you should be held responsible. I'm sorry, but you should.
So, and we are ending the show soon, and I'm going to dive a little more in depth with what I'm about to say. I think it all tags with a feeling that I have.
Okay.
Which is, I think the people that go to these events that, like, from what we saw, the Busch Gardens, the stabbing, the Haunt, the teenager problem at HHN, I don't think it's anybody who really gives a shit about the event. It's someone who doesn't care about going to the event. I think it's a status feeling. Okay. I think there are people that literally go to the event to get some kind of social media buzz about them via influencer, via vlogger, via whatever. And I think the same thing happens when those like vloggers, influencers put out in the atmosphere, oh, HHN's real cool to go to. This Haunt's really cool to go to. And then teenagers who don't give a fuck about Halloween or any kind of things like this, and they just see, oh, it's a cool thing I could go with my friends with. Let me fucking hang out. And they go and they hang out, and then they cause fucking issues because they don't care.
Right.
And I, honest to God, just think this is also not even in the same kind of ballpark, but you'll get it. Remember when Tide Pods were a thing?
Yeah.
And like, they would do it, and then the news filled it with it.
Yeah.
I think this is the same kind of bit. I think it's like, this is the kid thing to do. Start trouble at a fucking haunt.
Yeah.
And now the news runs with it.
Yeah.
And we
no,
don't,
that makes sense.
And we don't see it.
I also feel like there is this level of that. These kids have grown up with social media, right? They've also grown up with that they can comment and say whatever because they're not
behind
having, they're behind a keyboard essentially. Mm-hmm. And I think that some of the social norms of just respect for people and things are just not there. Yeah. And I do think I agree with you that it's like there is a level of status because you have, you know, teenagers that want to be like scream back at the scare actor. Like, bro, that's their job. Would you want somebody to come to your job and be like, oh, I can give a Chick-fil-A sandwich too, or, you know,
but yeah,
in the sense because that's like a teenager's.
That's what I'm saying. But you're right. There is like they come up with fucking dumb games.
Yes.
To do, and then they fucking do it.
Yeah.
And it's wild to me
listen,
how sheep following they are.
Yeah, and there's adults in there too that act like fools.
Yeah,
you know,
drunk fuckers all the time ruin experiences.
But I will say that I do think that there is a level of teenage problems, and that I feel like that old person that's like, back in my day,
we went to HHN uphill in the snow.
Both ways.
No shoes. All right, that's when we went. While you guys come in here with your little fucking cameras and your TikToky dances. Oh, I'm a TikToky. Look at me, TikToky.
And you know what? If I acted that way, my mama would have brought out a Switch. Actually, no, she wouldn't have.
Nintendo Switch. Beat your ass with a Nintendo Switch.
A wooden spoon. Let's be real.
Trauma.
But
no, it's just wild times, and I'm sorry about the fucking very special episode of Hunter's Podcast, followed by the fucking Drew Carey show. Sorry all that happened.
Well, no, I think that ultimately, like, I also feel like the people that watch our show are of a certain level of how to behave in art. Oh my Jesus.
A very important episode of Hunter's Podcast.
To sideways track this. Shout out to
sidetrack this?
Yes. That's what I meant. Sideways track this. Sidetrack.
You can make it shorter now.
Wait, what is it now?
Sidetrack.
Okay, well, this is a sidetrack. Is that how I would say it?
We're on the B-sides now.
Shout out to Brady Miller.
Yeah, you got to read this thing.
Yeah.
Or I will, I guess.
I can read it.
Yeah.
Who?
My eyes can't see nothing.
I know.
So, yeah. So, what she's saying is that Brady Miller...
who's a Patreon member.
Patreon member for us. Hey, and be a Patreon member because we only have a couple of more of these episodes left. I'll announce it with a week or two before to make sure all our ducks are in a row. But we have a special gift coming to the Hunters Podcast fans if you're a Patreon member. So make sure you are.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very cool. But Brady listens to the show, loves the show, and he planned a trip to Universal and Halloween Horror Nights all in one day. He did the old Zak and Brooke.
He did.
From 10 years ago. So, not to freak out Brooke, I'm going to show some photos while she reads this very entirely long, beautiful review of Brady's trip. Go for it.
Sorry for taking so long, but at the top of the day, came in and went to Islands of Adventure first, shaved time by skipping a few things, rode the Hulk and Spider-Man rides, did Kong, hit up Velocicoaster ride, which by the way, fuck that ride. Then Harry Potter World, and by the fucking way, fuck that ride.
Yeah.
Then did Harry Potter World, had a butterbeer, then rode Hagrid's bike thing.
He needs his own
TM.
podcast.
Another
Nice.
butterbeer and rode the castle ride. Also, in my personal opinion, fuck that. I would vomit.
Right.
Then on the train over to studio side, got there at like 3 p.m., so didn't have much time. Rode Transformers, Mummy Curse, which is based off the 1999 cinematic masterpiece, The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Walked the Harry Potter alley. Then ate at Mel's Diner, which, by the way, equals amazing. Then got in New York Stay in Scream line, where I poured a whole cocktail down the drain for the Blinky cup and started buying mocktails just to transfer over. Okay, now to HHN. Hit the Ghostbusters house first. Loved the OG Ghostbuster suits and their packs. The snow area was fun too. Next was Triplets of Terror, which was surprisingly good after making fun of the cover art for the release. Laugh out loud. I dig the slasher vibes and the true crime story feel of it. The beginning was funny with the woman at the table with the birthday cake. Also, I love you, Brady, but the fact that you have to explain all of that when I read the explanations of your other ones, stop trying to make fetch happen. Then Major Sweets, love the atmosphere to this one, the old-timey voice talking. It's not too overly supernatural / horror, just candy-laced horror. LOL, loved it from the beginning to end. Though I was caught off guard and laughed at the man tied up on his back with a tube pouring stuff down his mouth, but his esophagus was cut open, so it was just spraying everywhere. Eternal Bloodlines was next. Wasn't too impressed with it. Loved the Van Helsing type vibe, though. Must have just been the long-ass walk to get there that threw me off, LOL. Goblin's Feast was one of my favorites, though. Just loved the theme. The costumes were cool. Scares were a little more authentic to me. Slaughter Cinema was one of my least favorites. Was too all over the place. I get it's cinema, so had different themes throughout, but just didn't do it for me. Museum of Deadly Exhibits was next, and it was really a miss for me. It was so mixed with different themes, which granted it's a museum, which has a whole mix of things, but I just couldn't stay with it. Went back to the front, and by this time, wifey was dying, so we finished it out with Insidious and Quiet Place. Skip Monstrous. Insidious was on point. Raspy breathing dude and woman in black kept getting me. Loved the design and time taken to set that up. I'll be honest, and I know you said you dug it, but Darth Maul's cousin didn't do it for me. I think the costume the person was in was done lazily, didn't really have any radiant red, and just looked like a Spirit Halloween costume. My wife didn't even realize the red face demon was in the house until I pointed it out to her at the end of the night. Lastly, Quiet Place. This was cool as hell. The animatronics was hit or miss, but the eerie silence and spooky theme while walking through was awesome.
What's his house ranking?
10, Monstrous, because didn't go. 9, Slaughter Cinema. 8, Museum. 7, Eternal Bloodline. 6, Triplets of Terror. 5, Major Sweets. Candy Factory. 4, Ghostbusters. 3, Goblin's Feast. 2, Quiet Place. Number 1, Insidious.
What a list. What a list that I absolutely enjoyed. Mwah. Chef's kiss for a first timer. I think he's right for anybody's one experience because, like, again, we've gone through those houses multiple times through the time we went. So you're talking, he only got one time. So his Darth Maul experience may not be like how ours was. His Slaughter Cinema, he may not have had all the cool kind of gimmicks we got. But also, I went through Slaughter Cinema before, and I'm a movie guy. So I have, there's a reason.
There's that connection,
I loved his list, like where he put things I didn't, but I loved how he took it.
Yeah. And again, some of the things that we kind of pointed out and felt going through, I love that he was able to see. I also love that he was able to enjoy the event. Where's your few food stuff that you ate other than Mel's?
We're influencers.
Oh my God.
Big episode next week. But Brady, thank you for that.
Yes.
Thanks for reading it.
Oh, you're
welcome. You did such a good job. Next week, we're doing it. It's here. House ranking. We're going to do our house ranking. We have so many guests. You know the usual. We have someone new who's been on the show before, but this is a new capacity. So I'm excited to do house ranking for Halloween Horror Nights 2024. The official list of Haunters Podcast will come out of what we think are the worst, the best houses of HHN. But till then, we will catch you on the flippity flop. We will see you next week on October 3rd at Woody's Raw Bar and Grill if you want to do some horror trivia. We'll see you at Red Vein Haunt when I'm a spook actor trying to spook your ass.
Okay.
And I'll see you Sunday when you die at a theme park because you fucking died running.
I'm gonna die, y'all. Stay scary, my friends.
Stay hydrated.